Okay, folks, welcome to this morning's Saturday morning show. This is all about planning your January sale. Are you ready for the January sales? Well, we're not actually giving houses away or anything like that. It's not a discounted opportunity here. It's really all about your December checklist to sell your home fast in the new year. Now, times are challenging in some of these markets. Some of the markets are not challenging. The lower price end is going quite well. The midpoint is actually a reasonable balanced market. The higher price point is taking just that wee bit longer. Some of the areas across in Glasgow and Edinburgh and Dundee and Fife and right across Scotland itself, some are different from others. I'd be interested to hear anybody's comments about what it is like for your area and how you're getting on in terms of your house sale if you're on the market right now. More than happy to hear about that. But we're going to talk about this in particular. I mean, although the property portals get record numbers of views in every Boxing Day bounce, has your agent actually mentioned to you about the Boxing Day bounce and how important it is and how it skyrockets the day after Christmas? Because everybody basically has Christmas is over. We've got nothing much else to do. It's a national holiday. So
Everybody's
therefore,
sat on their phones.
first thing they do, it's the second most talked about subject is property. The
Yeah.
first is the weather, and property is right behind it. So the Boxing Day bounce is so important because it gets you seen. If you're on, you have to be on. Remember, way above everybody else. If they're not on, if they waited to the beginning of this, the next year, 2025, or any year after, then you've missed it. You're too late. So it's this, and then also the second half of January when the market really heats up, but you're in a prime position because you're ready to go and you're on the market at that point in time. So in order to capture that new wave of New Year's buyers as they come out of hibernation, it makes absolute sense to use the quieter weeks on either side of Christmas to plan and to prepare. Without the sunlight of summer or the blossom of spring, you do get the sunlight of winter, don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
today, for example, Richard, you can look right across in the sun. Instantly enough, the cloud is covered just that much. You can just see the outline of the sun.
I noticed
That's
that earlier.
weird,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah, I
I,
noticed
I
it.
was looking, I was looking up and thinking, is that the moon? It's like, no, it's actually the sun. It's
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I noticed it when I was out earlier.
You don't get much opportunities to actually physically look at the sun without being blinded, but literally that's what it was. So without the sunlight in the summer and the blossom in the spring, homes need really that extra helping hand to shine in the colder months. And this is what we're going to talk about. This is packed
Yeah.
with tips on how you can declutter as your decorations come down, add style with warm and tactile touches, and winterproof your welcome. Tackle those little jobs that you've got to do, and also partner with the perfect estate agent. That's probably the most important one.
Yeah.
I wonder
Wonder
who's
who
an
that.
estate agent at this point in time. Is it us? Yeah, of course it's us. Of course it's us. So does that sound good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it does. And do you know, you say about partnering with the perfect estate agent, and I think to demonstrate if your agent's worthy of being your perfect estate agent, it's to cover those things that you just spoke about, Jim. And it's like the Boxing Day bounce. Has your agent actually even mentioned the Boxing Day bounce to you? And a lot of people, and it's something that comes through all too often, is clients will come to me and they're not quite on the market, and they'll think, right, we'll just wait till the new year. And of course, like you said, second half of January does have that busy time, and there is a place for it in the new year because there is that busy time in the second half. But there's also this time where you need to be on the market to catch the Boxing Day bounce, and a lot of agents probably won't even advise their clients of that. And then maybe you don't have the perfect agent if they're not advising you these key times for marketing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first one we're going to kick off with is the clutter when your decorations come down.
Yeah.
This time of year, everybody puts their decorations up. Surprisingly, we've not got anything up.
Oh, you're a wee bit late. You're a
I'm
wee
like,
bit late.
I'm like, I'm saying to Elaine, wait a minute, and it's me that's meant to play the part of Scrooge at this point in time. It's not you. You're meant to put the decorations and Christmas tree up. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I'm not a
um,
November decorations person, but definitely once we're in December, put them up.
Yeah, but it does get it does for the stages. It does get in the way when you think about it. You know, when you're taking photographs and
Yeah,
especially a video walkthrough and stuff like that, then it has to all be redone again. So if you are still at the point of putting your house on and you're wanting to do something just before Christmas, then make sure you've got it clear of all the decorations and before you put them up, and then let your videos and photographs get done, and then you can stick everything up because then it's fine. That's the most important thing. But when the festive season comes to a close at the other side of this,
yeah,
it's the perfect opportunity to start decluttering your home while you're packing away your Christmas decorations. Now, I would typically say buyers really want to picture their lives in your home, and a tidy, thoughtful space helps them do just that, as well as providing the perfect tonic for the post-tree come down.
yeah,
So these are what are the sort of things we've got to think about for getting in the zone, Richard?
yeah. You're right. Get in the zone of like decluttering. Always allows you within the home to kind of radiate its entire character as such. So
Hmm.
space and possibly, there's the three key elements in every buyer's decision, and that helps you kind of get inspired in that as well. And Jake, could catch an episode of Grand Designs and visit a show home or look at listings on the property portals for examples. And look at that kind of effective staging. I'm not a big fan of completely staging, but to have things set out in a certain way and have a good flow in a property
Yeah,
definitely attracts the buyer's attention. And like you said, Jim, it pictures them living in a property. They could actually picture themselves there. And as soon as buyers start doing that, and you'll get people that walk around and think, oh, I could put this here and that there, and this is what we could. When they start talking like that, that's a really positive thing because they're starting to imagine themselves living there. And that's ultimately what you want buyers to feel.
it's quite interesting you said about the three key elements to somebody a buyer's decision.
Mm.
It's actually quite true. It's you're right. It's the character, it's the space, and it's the possibility. The character is clearly, if the house has got any feature characters to it, it's great to accentuate that and actually
Yep.
point that out, especially if you're doing video walkthrough, especially if they've got ornate cornicing or maybe the front. I mean, I've been at a property there now, and it's absolutely looks. It's very, very unique
Mm-hmm.
in the East Neuk area, and I'm not going to mention where in East Neuk because everybody will know it straight away as soon as I mention what it's like. But it's very, uh, dare I
Bespoke.
say, I don't know. It's very church-like. That's
Right.
maybe giving the game away for some people. They maybe go, I know exactly where that is. Um, but I tell you what, it's some feature in the windows themselves and the size inside. And you actually look at it from the front, you think, yeah, that's going to be pretty small. But it's actually
Mm-hmm.
got a downstairs and it's got scope to actually extend into the attic at the top because you can stand up easily in the roof space. And they've actually got some sort of, you get access from the Ramsey ladder into the roof space and they've got a double bed there anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of built like that, but they've just got a building warrant through, or sorry, they've just got planning through, and it's been approved to actually extend into there and actually create a dormer as well off the
Yeah.
back. But I tell you what, it's a beautiful property. So beautiful. Historic Scotland has actually graded it as a B-listed property, one
Okay.
of the very few in the area actually to have that B-listing because of its historic interest. It goes way
Mm-hmm.
back hundreds of years ago in terms of, but that's the sort of character, definitely. And then when you think about it, and if we go back to that one about the space and the opportunity, you've got
Mm-hmm.
typically the number of bedrooms it's got just now, but you can create another one upstairs as well, a big master bedroom upstairs, which is a great. So then that comes into focus about the possibility.
Yeah.
So see how you've got that. You've got these three key elements. Bring that all together. So I definitely think when it comes to market at the start of the year, it's going to be extremely popular. Um, and then when you go on about things like getting inspired and catching an episode of Grand Designs and visiting show homes, make sure you kind of visit show homes, not on the show homes person term. Because if you're
Yeah.
not buying, I mean, you're effectively just wasting their time, aren't they? Visiting show homes. So
Yeah.
make sure it's on their terms, and they're not going out their way to do it. I mean, they're not going to be happy if they find out that you've visited the show home, you've taken all their time out, but you've no intention of buying.
Yeah, I mentioned obviously when you talk about when we talk about getting inspired, and obviously the show homes, the things, they are all staged, and I think it's important the effective staging, because I think when you look at show homes, they're brilliant, but is it practical? Could you really live like that? Do you know? So I mean, I like.
You're absolutely right. When I look at these places, I think, oh, I'd love a place like that.
But you don't live like that.
Yeah, you just don't, because then
Yeah.
you begin to realise, wait a minute, there's no storage.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, that's no practical to have that over there, because it looks great, but there's no practicality towards it because you can't get into a cupboard or something like that. So it looks absolutely fantastic because it's the shiny penny thing. It looks great in the moment in the honeymoon period, and then once reality sets in, it's like, no, it's no possible. So it's about getting inspired to design your home in a way that will appeal to the buyer potentially.
Yeah.
So
There's
without
definitely
going
a balance.
overboard, I would say as well.
There's definitely a balance with the staging and having it look really nice, but then obviously it still being practical. There is definitely a balance there, but I sometimes see show homes and things, and I think looks amazing, but you're never going to live in a
Yeah,
property
it's
like
quite
that.
interesting because Linda Martin, particularly because she refurbs and
Linda's
flips
good at
property.
it. Yeah.
Linda's really good at it, and she often, I think, what she often does is she ends up selling all the furniture with it.
I think she sells. A lot of the time she does. She's got certain pieces I think that she keeps a hold of, but generally I think she sells it as it's seen. So you are actually buying what you're looking at, whereas sometimes you
That
buy a
then
show
comes
home.
into the American style way, which is the actually just get everything out of your existing house and actually just put all the rented furniture in
Mhm.
and make it look like a show home
Yeah.
for somebody to buy. Now, there's an opportunity there. Really, there's a twofold. The opportunity is you're obviously presenting your home as almost like a brand new home, so everybody goes, "Wow, I could easily move into
Mhm.
this." And then there's opportunity for the staging company to say, "I tell you what, we can sell that furniture pack as well at the same time." So there's a number of opportunities for local businesses and that to capitalise off of that as well. But
Yeah.
it's a good idea. But whether it's cost effective or no is another story, and you've got to think about and taking that into account. But you'll get lots of good ideas, like what you said, Richard, about out of the property portals, won't you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And if you look at what other listings look like and how other things are presented, and get that idea.
You even get
Definitely.
ideas of what not to do.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes more so than often, then you get inspired. You get don't do that. I will. But
I
yeah.
was going to say there's some properties that come on and it's like, oh my god, it's like I
Yeah.
don't think I would have put it on like that. However, the circumstances behind that sometimes, maybe
Yeah.
it's a tenanted property and the tenant's been there for years and they're not exactly the most fantastic tenant, but you just have to work around that because they're needing to sell the house.
It's funny when you're an agent and you've done it for so long and you look through the portals. I mean, I do it nearly daily. You pick up on things that the general public might not realise that it's done. Maybe, dare I say, incorrectly, or just maybe not to how we do it, and
Yeah.
how much better it could be. I think you notice straight off with simple changes. But dare I say,
I remember
that
that one,
maybe.
and there was one years and years ago in Pittenweem. It was like I had to climb over everything to do the video, but I managed to do the videos and obviously within reason take the right shots. And I tell you what, we still sold the house.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, once we'd sold it and got an offer on it, we took the videos off straight away and the photographs.
Yeah.
Just to be nice to the existing tenant that was in there. We
Mhm.
didn't feel that was appropriate just to leave them on all the time, so we took them off.
Yeah.
Because it's a reflection of how they lived at that point in time. But unfortunately, that's what we had to do in order to get it
To
sold.
put an
Because
order to sale.
people needed to see inside the house, and some people that are further afield don't have that opportunity to come along and actually just view at the drop of a hat. And it was a really popular property, so we felt that was the way to go with it.
Yeah. But yeah,
What
yeah.
what's the
Cool.
What's the final thing we've got to? That maybe takes us into organisation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, get in the zone, get inspired, and then and that kind of does take us on nicely to getting organised. And instead of simply just hiding things in cupboards, and I know everybody does it, and you'll do viewings, or don't open that cupboard when you're showing people around because it's full to the kernels. So yeah, instead of just hiding stuff in cupboards and things and dealing with it later, keep only the things that that you use and bring you joy, and things that you really need at that time while you're listing your property. If it's all extra stuff that you don't need, get rid or move it on or store it somewhere else, not just in the cupboard. You could sell it, you could dispose of it, you could donate it to charity. A lot of people, when they're maybe moving house or downsizing or whatever, they go through all this stuff, and it's stuff they've never looked at for years, but it's still good, reasonably conditioned stuff. Donate it to charity.
Stuff that you've kept a hold of for years and years and years. I'm literally talking about 10, 20, 30 years. And yet you've never ever looked at it in that time. What is the point of keeping it? There's a huge, strong emotional tie and emotional bond to some stuff, especially from the very, if it's your young children when they were growing up. There's also huge emotional ties and probably financial ties to stuff. It's like, I better keep that. It's going to be worth a money in years to come. Yeah. And it's like, do you know the reality of that happening is extremely remote?
Yeah.
I've got things like that. I mean, I've got the first 20 editions that Plug the comic, first 20 editions that's Cheeky the comic, all different collector stuff.
Will you ever let them go?
Yeah, I know, it's tragic, and it's like literally they'll not be worth anything. It wasn't even worth my time. The storage that I used to get it and pay, when you work it out on per square foot of the amount you've had to pay for your house, and you work out the storage you've had to use it as a result, it's probably far outweighed the actual return you would get on whatever it is you're selling. If anybody's ever wanting to buy it, to be honest. It'll be like when I hate to say it, but it's the old adage, when you pop your clogs, it's like, your house is not going to make any difference to anybody. It's somebody else is going to live in it. Somebody else is going to drive your car if it's still about. Somebody's going to have your job that you had before. It's like, it's
everything just moves on.
Yeah, so why do we keep a hold of things? It's a question of human behavior, isn't it?
It's like a sentimental thing, and some people have it. Some people don't have sentimental connections to things, and like tangible items and things that people hold on to, and other people don't. And it's strange because it's in relationships it could actually cause arguments, because one person wants to hold on to everything, another person just wants to clear everything out.
So if you're still trying to figure out where to begin, anybody tuning in, then try our blog, 4 Ways to Declutter, for simple strategies to get you started. It's in this post, so click on the link above, below, side, or diagonal, or whatever it is. But there'll be a link to this post, to the actual thing, and within that there is a bit under the decluttering, when your decorations come down, of 4 ways to declutter. It is actually highlighted, so that'll give you a really good start, and it's pretty straightforward. I'll love it because it's so systematic and simple in how to do it. This is where we come to the next thing we've got to think about.
Okay.
Adding style with warm and tactile touches. I have a sneak suspicion, Richard, this is going to be your forte, and it's not mine. Magnolia Man.
Magnolia Man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the tactile touches and things, and we say the word warm because obviously it's this time of year, and winter really presents that unique staging opportunity that we were talking about to make your home feel that extra inviting and really cozy when people come in. December is the ideal time to perfect these details for the January market, basically. And as we talk about tactile touches, adds some layers of comfort, and it can be using like the textures. Like a lot of people get their throws and their, the new cushions they've got, and people have got curtains and throws and cushions and things that are specifically for this time of year. They do the change around, and it just makes it feel all that more cozy and warm and inviting. Whether it's in living room spaces, whether it's your bedroom, with these kind of touchy-feely fabrics, you get all these different kinds of wools and velvets, and that snuggly kind of ambience, and that's really, and it's really inviting, and it's quite a good.
I could feel that velvet with my fingers.
It's a really good theme to have at this time of year, and it will take you right through, obviously, January, February, and into March as we approach spring. It's still cold, so it's still that cozy time to create that cozy feel. So definitely do that. and add that layer of comfort and invite you.
That's exactly what your pets go straight for.
Yep.
Is as soon as you put something down like a pillow or a cushion or something that's cozy, it's like they're in there like a flash.
Do you know, I come home the other day and I left the bedroom door and the dog actually he was in the bed. He was in, because I've got cushions and all that. He was actually in it. I'm like, anyway. But yeah, pets are the worst for doing that. As soon as they find the cozy place to go, they're done. But anyway, he was happy.
So what about have you still got a fire? You got a fireplace or anything like that? I mean, we don't have a fireplace. We got rid of it when we first renovated our house. But I kind of regret it. I always kind of think I wanted a stove, so just to have that, the crackling wood, and it's like the second television. Although it'd be the first one, you become almost
one, yeah.
You almost become addicted to looking at it. It's like it's like I've caught myself once in a blue moon watching the washing machine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we had the artificial fire, but we ended up going for the new, like the more modern. So we've got the mantle, but nothing underneath it, which at the time was on trend. But the stoves are back, and I'm thinking about opening it up. But anyway, but to have the open fires, I mean, that's a brilliant selling point when you walk in and like you say, if somebody's got a wood burner or a stove and it's crackling in the corner or in the living room, and really radiating that kind of inner warmth through the property. And a roaring fire is the best thing to do that. It's the quintessential winter warmer.
It's probably the first thing I talk about when I go into a house, especially this time of year. And I deliberately engineer it. I mean, your fire, by the way, if you've got a log burner, your fireplace doesn't need to be on. Just make sure you've got one of these kindling kits that you can quickly light. So when your estate agent comes round and they're doing some filming or they're doing some photography, light the kindling kit, and it'll just give you that initial half an hour of flame to make it look really, really nice with your log burner, and it'll look brilliant in the photographs and in the video content as well. So I think that's really where to capitalise on, definitely. And then when you start to talk about things about sitting around the fireplace, and it's also nice and cosy, and you've got a glass of whiskey or a glass of wine, and you're having a discussion with your friends and family. There's probably nothing better than that. Just imagine that feel.
Yeah, I've just pictured it in my head. Obviously, the fire and the whiskey and the dark night. Yeah.
Now, let me say, how else would I have been able to put that across if I didn't do it in video?
Yeah, you
wouldn't.
You couldn't. You could write that in a description, but it would not.
How else can you put it across if you didn't do it in a video talk-up?
Yeah.
And you had a silent movie. If you had a silent movie, which is just a video walkthrough with music or nothing at all, then it literally tells you nothing of that. And that's to me what sells a house. I mean, the house is sold effectively. What you're doing is selling the lifestyle that comes with it.
Yeah, you're creating, like we've said time and time before, people make decisions on their emotions, and if you create that emotion of them picturing themselves in that place and living there, then they're going to react to that emotion, and that's to probably move to the next stage and actually purchase if they're a buyer.
And we'll touch on what we're about to talk about next, but it is when you've got the roaring fire, it is the smell that comes with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that log burner. It's the smell of the wood, the charcoal, the coal, that sort of thing. It takes people back to younger memories, I suppose. Times where people were relaxed. You know what it gives me? A log burner probably exudes the word relax.
Yeah.
That's it. Relax and warmth. That's the two words that a log burner or even a fire going will actually exude, I think, personally. But then we touched on it just the other now about things like the sight. We've got the sight, we've got the sound, but we've got the smell as well. So how important is it to get the smells right in your house? Yeah. How could you do that then? What do you need to do?
Yeah, you're triggering people's senses, and that their receptors, and that's obviously your sight, your sound, and you know that the smells and things as well, and the wind by obviously someone's nose, you know, is all like major, like you see when you walk into some shops and things as well, they all know the secret of using scents to bring people in. Do you know, whether it's an expensive clothes shop and they sell the accompanying like aftershaves and perfumes and things, they'll catch you on the street, that smell, and bring you in. And it's the same, so they can really infuse the air with like aromas. And you know, Christmas time and the winter cozy times, the exact same, where you could capitalize on things like myrrh and clove and orange and that pine smell, not toilet cleaner pine, but that pine smell.
Yeah,
You know, with
I
candles
understand. Yeah,
and things, which create that entire sense, like that, create an entire feeling for a whole time of year, and that's like this winter time. So if you could encapsulate that and get people to walk in and smell that straight off, it's going to put their mindset into, God, it's nice in here, it feels nice and Christmassy, or it feels nice and wintry warm, and creates that emotion with them.
you can deliberately find out the right smells for the right emotions, can't you? I
Yeah.
mean, for example, fresh mint.
Mm-hmm.
If I give you a mint smell, you would know. You would think straight away fresh. Clean, lavender.
Mm-hmm.
Vanilla, soft,
Mm-hmm.
velvet. You know, that sort of thing. That's what vanilla does.
Yeah.
So you can follow. I mean, you could probably Google most. You know, what smells are associated with what feelings, and you could design the smell of your house as you walk round, in the context of what emotion do you want to invigorate in each room. Really, that's what it comes down to. I mean, clearly straight away, the first one you want to do in a bathroom is clean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you come into the pine. You know,
Yeah.
that's definitely the pine. You know, the sort of typical flash sort of smell you would get. Or a classic example is Domestos, bleach. It's like, as soon as you smell bleach, you automatically think of, yeah, clean, must be clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's bleach. That's the sort of things I would say are really, really important. So to give you more insight into that for anybody tuning in, there's more top tips of turning turning up the cozy in our blog called Selling in Winter. Now, we just did this recently, actually.
Yeah,
So
we've done that not
so
long
we can
ago.
warm your hearts of the buyers, no matter how cold it gets. I mean, it's like minus degrees in some places now, if not in the morning here. But definitely, Selling in Winter is a really good blog to tune into, because that will give you a really good insight into what you should be doing. That then probably takes us into winterproofing your welcome then. How important is it really then you get that first impression right? Because we're talking about winterproofing, we're talking about welcoming. It's no great when you walk in a house and it's Baltic, is it?
No. And you know, I've been in properties over the years and done viewings, and the heating's not been put on, or it's not. Do you know? And it's so cold, and it does not make for a good viewing experience.
It's a false economy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a false economy. Somebody says, "Oh well, I'm going to be out," so you know, and they don't put on the heating, and it's like, okay, so you've saved yourself 10 quid, and whatever it is, probably less than that. But you've cost yourself probably a house sale, or you've cost yourself maybe a few thousand. The person would have paid more if they were really wanting it, if it was a bit warmer.
Yeah. The cold home could really put people off. And if I get there in time and I've not been instructed not to, I always put the heating on and try and take the chill off before somebody comes along. But I mean, even in the depth of winter, first impressions always count, and you could really boost the home's curb appeal with even just the colour of light during the greyest days of the year. And that's kind of when you go with like the glow from like the porch to the pathway, the lighting to the lamp inside the front window, to the warm glow maybe of an amber bulb as opposed to the daylight ones or bright light ones. They could attract viewers without using it as a pun, but like moths to a flame, to be fair, because they create that.
This is where it turns on its head a bit, isn't it? And this is where I always say, like, daylight light is the best to use. But I think daylight light is sometimes it's fine in certain rooms,
Yeah.
But there are certain times that you want that amber light, don't you? You want that soft tone in particular places. And because everybody's, if it's going to be daylight inside and it's full brightness, and it's almost dark outside or it's dingy outside, you're immediately going to sniff a rat, if that makes sense. Or
Yeah.
you're not going to
It
smell a
doesn't
rat or
feel
whatever it is. You're going to know something's going on. Your sixth sense is going to kick in as a buyer. So
yeah, it's
that's
not
why
going to
it's
make you feel
important
comfortable.
actually
Yeah.
to get the right and light, the lighting right and light.
I knew what you meant.
Horse before the cart. That makes sense. Just shows it's live. But yeah, the front porch, yeah, definitely. And you could get a soft amber light to go in the actual light in the porch, can't you? And again, it gives you that sort of feel. When you get too bright, then in winter, it maybe gets too sterile and cold, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you've got such a big contrast to outside as well. And we say about the porch and things, and have that really curb appeal and that inviting thing. And I always say it, and there's a property I pass when I walk the dog, and they do it every year as it gets into the darker nights, and they have big lanterns, and they have the flameless candles in them, and then they've got a big window next to their front door, and you can see up their hallway, and they've got other lights and things, and it just looks amazing. And to walk past, I deliberately walk past it with the dog just to have a look at it every night. And they've got it right, and that's creating curb appeal and that really welcoming, like warm feeling, and that's what we're trying to obviously relay here.
You better watch the don't think you're stalking.
No, well, I do walk that way anyway, but it's
Hello, is that the police? I've got somebody that keeps looking at my house.
it is really nice though. They've done it really well.
It's funny how everybody's got that voice, for people that I don't know where that came from or how that came about. It's like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody speak like that, to be honest. But that's the type of things we do.
It's probably come to a film or something over the years. Everybody's picked it up. But
how important is organising outdoors then?
Yeah, so that, like we talk about that curb appeal, and do you know, if you've got people walking past it, do you know, if a board goes up in a garden, people will take a walk past. So you want to have that, because it could put them off before they even phone the agent if they've took a wee walk past. Have your curb appeal, and your garden is a big part of it. Rake up like leaves, trim and prune foliage and bushes and things. If you've got driveways and paths, make sure they're clear. If you need to jet wash them down, if they're all mossy, and it could be really uninviting to have all that. Keep your pathways clear at this time of year. If put grit down on them and things so they're not icy, especially if you've got viewers coming. You don't want somebody sliding on your steps or your pathway, and make sure it's slip free and on the approach to the house.
I'll be honest, if somebody slips on your pathway going into the house, that's the end of your viewing.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though they get up and they go, yeah, I'm going to soldier on, because everybody is focused on that now. And you may as well just go, look, we're probably better to do this at another time and just reschedule it.
Yeah.
Or take a minute, maybe take them in for a cup of tea or something like that, and sit them down, get everybody calm, and then do the viewing at the back of that. I think that's probably the key here. So definitely, you're right, Richard. Prune all the foliage, and make sure you just clear everything and all the moss off the drives. And grit is so essential. So the other one for me was about flowers and stuff like that. It's difficult to get flowers at this point in time in year, but I think the most important point is you do get some things like winter pansies or evergreens are a classic example as well to put by your doors. It's the hollies, no the singing group, by the way, but the holly. It goes in your front door or in a street facing window for a cheerful greeting for people. I think that's really good as well to do, and that's probably expected at this time of year. But again, it gives that impression. Why do you think they've got it on all the doors when you're in films? When you see films, that's the first thing they've got if it's that time of year on a door, because they know it invokes certain emotions. And it's good emotions. That's why they're putting it in a film. So take advantage of what you see around you and what successful models are doing. I mean, a model and a template in terms of what a film company does, what a television production company does, and what a big organisation, you know, a big corporate house builder does in terms of how they present, because they've spent all the money finding out all the tricks to do. So why not just learn from them?
Yeah, they'll have paid people to look at this, and they'll seek out all these things that trigger people's emotions and the receptors. So look at what they're doing and replicate it to a certain extent.
So that then comes back to saying that, you know, so the next thing out of that then is probably just, once you think you've got that sussed, and just stand at the front and think to yourself, does this look right? As a fresh pair of eyes for the first time, forget that you've ever seen your house. I know it's difficult once you've done it, because you've done it. But forget for a moment and think to yourself, if I had never seen this for the first time, what would be the things that tick the boxes for me that I'm seeing right now? What would be the things that don't tick the boxes for me that I'm seeing right now? Because there will be other stuff as well. And then maybe get a fresh pair of eyes from someone that's never seen any of your property at all, and just say, oi, you, drag somebody off the street and go, what do you think?
But you know what's good as well, and you're absolutely right, because it's like the nose blind thing. You walk in and out of your house every day, and you just become complacent to what it looks like. And even to deliberately take a step back and walk in, you'll still probably miss things. And so that's when it's good. Even maybe your agent could come out and walk through and say, right, this, and this.
That's a good point.
And that's what we're here to do, and that's to help you identify things from a fresh pair of eyes and another perspective. Because as much as maybe even you try, you are sometimes blind to things in your own home.
My biggest thing is when you walk in the door and you're walking in where it's grit and it's snow potentially and wet outside.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a mat for somebody to wipe their feet? That is a big thing for some people. Because if you've not got something for somebody to wipe their feet, they feel so awkward about having to stand on your carpets in your house and drag mud and water all over your house. And often it's like, well, look, I'll take my shoes off, because they feel obliged to do it. Then if they take their shoes off, it's even worse, especially if they've got holes in their socks or their tights. But it's even worse from that point of view, about the fact that if you've got a cold floor, that's going to follow with them all the way around. If you've got cold floors, if you've got laminate, or if you've got tiles, I'm not saying get rid of them, then that's going to stay with them. So you've got to be aware of that. So my best advice is just get simple foot covers off of Amazon. Now, your estate agent will probably provide them.
Yeah, I carry them around.
Your estate agent. Yeah, ask your estate agent if they've got them. But if you want to go one ahead of them, just go on Amazon or something like that. Other shops are alternatives, but it's an easy gig. They're cheapest chips on there. And you just get foot covers that you can put on people when they come in. You can give to them when they come in the door, so it doesn't make them feel uncomfortable about walking in. So, as I said, you can winterproof this. The things like the scents. So you've got the warm glow from the light, and you can see it as you come to the door. You've got the holly on the door, the wreath or something like that, and you've got the red berries to just give it a wee accentuate and let it pop and stand out. You've got a clear pathway as you walk up. It's maybe lit as well. Then you open the door and you've got a nice glow from a soft tone bulb. And then you've got foot covers, and somebody says, oh, right, I'm pleased to meet you, and all the rest of it. You get a wee, dare I say, a wee waft of warmth coming out. So you just get that wee warmth coming out of the property when you go in. So you get a wee bit of warmth, not overpowering, by the way. It's no like Woolies when you open the door and you've got John Menzies or something. Show my age now, Woolies and John Menzies. But W. Smith and that. And you've got it battering down like a force 10 gale of hot air. No, I'm no meaning about that. Just take a wee bit of a warmth as people come in. So they feel warm but not uncomfortable feel. They've got the option to put on boot covers or shoe covers when they come in. And you've got that as well. And then that sets the right tone for coming in.
Makes them feel comfortable, yeah.
Followed by a wee whiff of vanilla or a scented candle.
Yeah, which and you know, you've even just said that, and I pictured, visualized walking up the path in the house, and as you were saying all that, and that's kind of demonstrates how a talk up works as well. But I created that vision in my head, and that's what as opposed to, you know, walking in and it's freezing cold and the smelly dog and, you know, you've got grit on your feet, and you know, there's a big difference in that, and how you will feel in that experience. So
do you notice though that it's not one big thing? It makes a fundamental difference that you were talking through there between the two of them. But what I said and what you just said, it's all these wee tiny things added up that make that monumental difference overall in how the viewing will proceed and how the buyer will be. And will they be open? Will they be closed in terms of their thinking? Will they be warm or will they be cold? You know, these sort of things are so important when you're doing you're taking a buyer round, and that could make the fundamental difference at the end, whether you get an offer or not, or a discussion out of them.
Yeah.
I would say that's definitely what it is, and you're creating that excitement in every viewing. You're also putting a positive mindset in the buyer before they even step over the threshold, I think.
Yeah, and I think I mean, we've covered quite a lot about like the emotional side of things and the aesthetic kind of side of things as well. But what about like there's a lot of like odd jobs or little jobs that could be done throughout the property that could be done before viewings and indeed the listing goes ahead to make the property be presented a lot better. What kind of like odd job type little job things could we think about for getting the property ready for the market?
Jeez, this is where you come back to saying, have you been putting off these small jobs to do?
Which everybody does. Everybody does that.
This is the by the way, here's my list of everything you have to do, and every time I take one off, I get two put on it. You know, everybody has that dilemma. Every time you take one job off, another two appear. But have you really been putting them off? This is why it's so essential to actually get that small job done before it actually ends up going on the list, and it's on the list for quite a while. And whether it's just getting a handyman to do it, a handy person to do it, whatever, or maybe doing it yourself, you're probably better to get it done. I mean, even minor, tiny issues can be a sign of larger problems overall. You know what? I remember going at one of the houses that I'd bought years ago, and one of the contractors says to me, "Oh, like you've got a bit in the corner there," and I poked it with a stick, and it's like the stick went right through the floorboards. I went, "Oh, right, okay." And this is after I bought it. And then I went, "You better have a look at that then," to the contractor. And then he called me up that night and says, "You better come round." And he says, and he had half the floor ripped out. I basically rotted the whole lot.
Yeah.
And that wee bit in the corner, actually, I had no idea. And it was only when I pressed that, it was dry rot all the way through. And eventually I had to take it right back where there was no floor in that room at all. And even worse, the joists went underneath the walls to the other rooms. So you had to treat the ends and then put a whole new floor in, all because of that bit in the corner. So see how these sort of things in some people's minds could send alarm bells right out straight away.
Yeah, and people that are in the know of picking up on these small things because they know they could be resulting in a bigger repair.
That could put a huge dent in your selling price. So check around to see if you can, find and fix these flaws. Check for check the roof. I mean, it's no easy at this time of year because obviously there's the roof's slippy. But check them for broken tiles or slates. Touch up scuffed or I would say stained paintwork. This is classic. Or what about the trap in your shower in the upstairs bathroom? It leaked at one point in time 3 years ago, but you never actually sorted the stain in the ceiling. Yeah. How many people have that?
And you've just become complacent.
And they've done nothing about it. What about the window that you got repaired or the flashing you got repaired 2 or 3 years ago, but you never did anything about the actual the damage it had caused inside because it was just staining. Now is where it comes back to haunt you, because when the surveyor goes round, they have to mention there's historic staining. They have to mention there's historic staining, and yet if you had been able to paint over that because there was nothing wrong with it now, it wouldn't appear on the home report. Yeah. But could you imagine just the words historic staining to the ceiling?
Yeah. And just to be clear there, like you say, obviously you're only painting over these things because the actual source has been rectified. Don't if the repair still needs done, get it repaired and then do the internal. Don't just paint over something because that's that's obviously trying to just cover over what the issue
Yeah.
is, and it'll come back again.
Get your door handles fixed, you cheapo. That's what I'm saying next. It's like, I know why I'm saying it, because I'm talking to myself. I've got door handles. Kind of the spring goes inside them.
Yeah,
The spring
and
goes inside and they just lie limp down here.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're still open, but it's like, get them fixed, you cheapo.
Yeah. For all a door handle
For all
costs,
it is.
Yeah.
But you just never, you kind of think to yourself, well, it's only like £4, and it's like, I could just nip down to the local shop. But when you nip to the local shop, they're usually out of stock. You're too late by then. So get them fixed, tighten them even up. You know, if you've got loose screws in that, because that always happens over a period of time in some doors. You know, in the plyboard doors, you usually get the loosen off a bit with the screws and stuff like that. So get them sorted. And mend leaking taps. We all have a leaking tap somewhere, somehow. When we switch the tap on, it begins to leak out a wee joint somewhere coming up, you know, especially with kitchen sinks and stuff like that. Or even in your bathroom, or out the wee washer, the wee faucet bit, it comes out of there as well when you turn it on. These are all different. See how I've gone through all these things, so I completely understand.
From experience, Jim, that's why I thought I'd let you cover this bit.
It's definitely so. Find and fix these flaws, because it will make a fundamental difference to how a buyer thinks. What's the other things to think about? Let me think. Heat up the rooms. We touched on this, haven't we? Let's talk this about heating up in your greeting. So heat up your greeting. Buyers will love feeling toasty after braving the cold to view. You don't need to do anything about your heating system, and I've just done it. Bleed your radiators.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was actually even my own, and I think everybody, once you've been running your heating system for X amount of weeks, because we're now in the winter, you'll probably notice, and I noticed the other day, and I thought, I need to bleed a radiator in here and get the heating back to its full potential, because I noticed it to be a bit down. And it's a simple thing to do.
And if you've got a sealed system on your boiler, in other words, you've not got a hot water, you've not got a tank, a cold water tank, it feeds the heating system. In other words, that's a gravity-fed system.
Yeah.
That's usually typically an old Baxi. Back boilers have them.
Yeah.
If you've got a sealed system, which is the new Baxi wall-mounted condenser boilers, then if you bleed your radiator and take air out of it, you'll probably have to top up the pressure again, back to 1 to 1.5 bar in the system, in order for your system to work efficiently enough. If it starts to drop below 0.5 bar, a lot of systems shut out and they don't actually work until you top up the pressure in the system again. So watch out for that. When you bleed the radiator, make sure you top it up so it's got the right pressure back into the system. These are all things to think about. If you're not really sure how to do that, then you know, a handy person will be able to do that for you. Just, you know, get in touch with them, ask them about these specific tasks. Is this something you can do? What's the rough cost of that? And then it'll give you a good insight into what you can do there. So definitely, and probably check your boiler's pressure, as I said, and if necessary, book a service for your boiler to make sure. You don't want the last thing you want to do is oh, I'm sorry, it's cold in here, my boiler broke down. Sorry. That means I've got to get a £2,500 new system. Oh no, you don't. It only broke down. Well, in my mind, it is.
Yeah.
When I've walked in the door, I know nothing about your system, or I know nothing about your house, but you're just telling me straight away that that's potentially going to happen to me. So see what I mean about getting all these tackling these wee jobs.
Yeah.
Drafts.
Yeah.
No drafts that you play, like chess and drafts.
I've not played drafts.
It's one of those days, where I say certain things, it's like pops into my head. It's one of those days. So, you know, drafts is probably one of the other things to go for, especially at this time of year. It can get very cold. There's a dare I say there's a habit in my house to leave ventilation open on the window all the time. It's like when you go into the bathroom, it's Baltic.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is like, I'll close the windows, or even close them at night before I go to my bed, because it's Baltic outside.
Yeah.
So, and then it's quite drafty as well. So it's no great for getting up. So definitely, if you get a chance, try and draft proof your house a bit more. But remember, you will have to open windows now and again for condensation, especially if you're cooking or you're having a shower and you don't have any other means of it escaping, because then it goes somewhere and it typically goes straight for the outside walls and condensates
Yeah.
and then starts to cause a wee bit of damp, which isn't rising damp, it's just condensation damp.
There's always that opportunity. When you talk about ventilation and things, it's such a big thing. Obviously, I do a lot of lettings, and that's what we advise people so much. And even when it's bitterly cold outside, there's always that window opportunity in the morning once everybody's up, just to open the windows and let some air in. Drafts are a really thing that could be so detrimental to you. You've got the heat in the property. You've, like you say, you've bled the radiators, top tier pressure up, got your boiler working at its best, got the place all warm, and then you've not draft proofed, and then it just depletes the heat in the property so quickly. So there's no point in doing one without obviously making sure the other one's got the provisions in place to not have drafts throughout the property, and you could still ventilate well, eliminating drafts in a property.
I mean, it probably even benefits your energy efficiency, and it might actually have a beneficial effect on your energy efficiency, your EPC itself, the rating.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be bordering on the level of a D, and it might actually push you into the category C, which actually is a huge bonus, and that's kind of where the average is like now. People expect to be a category C now, although there's certain houses that you'll never ever get category C because they're stone built and they'll never be able to adapt to get that energy efficiency you're after in terms of the ratings and how they work it out. I mean, these jobs can often feel bigger than they actually are, and once you've dealt with them, you'll wonder why you waited for so long. In all honesty, but the key is start now, and you'll be done before you know it. Start now, and you'll be done before you know it. Now, if you're listening, and it's your partner that's going to be doing that, you'll have to go to them and say, "Start now, and you'll be done before you know it."
And I'm sure they'll take that quite well. But
Jim says, start now and you'll be done before you know it. There you go. You've got my permission to use that with your partner. Start now and you'll be done before you know it. Jim said that. I'll get somebody to phone him up or something.
I was just going to say, we'll get a lot of good
feedback for that. Sending me an email, keyboard warrior. It's like, what? It's like, you've just got me a list of jobs to do.
Yeah. But yeah, they're all really good things, and I think to think about, and it's like, let's say we went through the whole emotional and aesthetics things, and then obviously these handyman things and things as well that really need addressed before. You should be thinking about these. If you're thinking about putting your property in the market, start thinking about these things, because they'll take time to work through. And then speaking to your agent, they'll advise you of these things as well, or they should do, if you're partnering with the perfect estate agent. And that's the last thing we're going to talk about and wrap up today. And whether you are partnering with should we say the perfect estate agent or the right estate agent for you? Because I think everybody's different, and I think people gravitate to certain people differently. So maybe the estate agent that aligns with what you...
I was just about to say that. Aligns with your values.
Yeah. I think that's probably a better way to...
So if you're a giver and into community, then you'll probably align with us.
Yeah.
And because that's how we are. That's just us by nature. And solution orientated, and you want to be helpful and help other people on their journey. I think that's where our alignment will stand, and that's probably our primary customers. That's what they're like deep down. I definitely think so. So you know, how do you go about that, and what sort of things you should be looking out for, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, moving home, it does take several months, so it's absolutely vital that you work with an agent that you trust and that you ultimately have faith in to obviously follow through with things as you think that they should, or how they've advised you that they will. So when they arrive at your home, you could go through a few things with them and get the most from their visit as you really can. Because obviously an agent will come out and see you. Now, they're probably windowed for about an hour, but there's a lot you could fit into an hour. First off is, when they give you the valuation for your property, question that valuation, question how they arrived at that valuation. Do you know, whether you're disappointed with the valuation or whether you're delighted with the valuation? Either or, ask them how they arrived at that. Ask how they got that price point. A strong valuation should be supported with solid comparable evidence. And if your agent can't demonstrate that to you, you've got a problem for the outset.
I would say that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things ever.
Mhm.
Is you're right, whether you like the valuation or not, you should question where that came from,
Yeah.
and how they came to that valuation. I've witnessed it so much myself in the past. Before I was an estate agent, when we were selling houses, it's like, so what about the valuation? Well, we think it's that, but I failed at that point in time to understand that question and to question that and say, well, where did that come from? There was no rhyme or reason. It's just that's what they thought the price was, and then it was a case of suck it and see, and we'll see what happens from there. But with the advent of home reports, it makes it a bit more clinical. But I think before the agent comes out, the agent should really be doing the same sort of detailed valuation work. Possibly a surveyor will be doing for the valuation on the home report. And they should be coming up with almost the same figure as what the home report will come in at. So I think it's right to question that. It's, if somebody says 120, 250,000, 390,000, okay, so where did that come from? It's a simple question. Where did that come from? Or if you're not sure and you think it's a bit confrontational for you, you just go, well, I was watching Jim Parker's podcast, or Jim and Richard on their podcast for, Fife Properties, and they were saying we should question this valuation about, and the first question we should ask is, where did that come from? How did you come about that valuation? Or was it just plucked out the air? Oh, well, I just know. It's like, well, no, just a gut feeling isn't good enough.
Any reputable agent should generally be doing kind of more or less the same as what a surveyor would do. Obviously, surveyors drill it down a lot more, and they look into the price per square foot and things as well in a lot more detail. But generally, like you say, Jim, we shouldn't be that far off what the home report's going to come in at.
Yeah, that's where it probably comes back to things like as well. So once you've done that, then you want to evaluate their market and compare it against everybody else, and also discuss their plan to showcase your home, especially for the winter market, from the photographs to and text, or in other words, the description, to even the video content and how it's going to be, and also the social media strategy that they're going to adopt. I mean, let's be honest. Most agents, I see it anyway. They just put it on a Facebook page and they hope for the best.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. What sort of retargeting strategy they got, and what audiences they're actually trying to hit with their retargeting strategy. In other words, how are they going to get your marketing advert in front of the right person on this tiny screen?
Yeah.
That's the key. How are they going to get that in front of the right person? What strategy, what ad campaigns are they going to use to influence someone else? I think that is what you should be asking. Not just, oh, you sell a lot of houses and you sell a lot of houses in the area, so I'll just take your word for it.
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay.
But
that could end up costing you thousands.
Yeah. And it's all the wee things like when you talk about planning the market, and it's like even down to like the time of day that they're going to come, depending on the time of year it is, for obviously the daylight and the weather, checking what the weather's like, and where you're if you're on the coast, like, oh, maybe we could do different footage here. Like, I know you do a lot of drone footage for stuff that's by the seaside at East Neuk, and so it's tailoring that to the individual property and client as well. And if you're not getting that kind of feedback from your agent, then
And then, interestingly enough, the comment I had the other day was somebody actually said, one of the things I love about what you do is you use your own people to do the viewings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I went, what do you mean by that? And they went, well, you don't actually just hire somebody. It's no connected to the business, really, just to open my door and let people see around.
Mm-hmm.
With no knowledge at all about the area and possibly the property itself. It's actually you and your company and your people that actually do it. So they understand the person that's walking in the door, they understand their needs, and then they also understand the property itself, because we've been around it already and actually explained to them what it's like. And they've also seen the video walkthrough we've done pre-market before we're about to put it on. So that's really important. And then the feedback and how that happens, and probably your own personal experience of that person if you were looking to buy a property, potentially, because that's what happens most of the times. You're viewing a property with that other agent, and then what was that experience like for you when you viewed that? What feedback did they actually chase you up for feedback? That's a
Yeah.
really good one as well. So
Uh,
what experience you got is what experience your buyer will get. That's
mhm.
probably, I would say. And
And,
just in case you don't find a buyer, you know, just in case you don't find that buyer with that person, have you got a plan B? Do you know what to do?
mhm.
See the amount of times I run the Scottish Property Network, the admin for there as well. I've got about 9,000 people on it now. And it's quite interesting. But the number of times I actually see people posting their property from another agent onto that Scottish Property Network, and it's like £10,000 reduced, £25,000 reduced, this reduced, and I'm thinking that's no how to market a property.
No,
You don't immediately announce to somebody it's reduced in price.
because
You know,
it's just immediately going to
they
be like,
will.
why?
They'll
Why is
not
it
buy
reduced?
it for it's reduced in price. They'll ask why is it reduced in price,
Yeah.
but they'll not buy it because it's reduced in price. They'll buy it because the price is right. So if you put it on at that price, it was reduced to without saying it's been reduced in price, they'll still buy it.
Mhm. Without the
People when
question.
they buy property, people when they buy property to live in, they're not looking for a bargain. They're looking for the
Mhm.
property they want to live in. And it just so happens it has to be at the right price point. So announcing the property is 10,000, 20,000 below home report is not the right strategy to get maximum value for that house. Imagine that
Yeah.
one that we did before. It's like, you know, it ended up being 100,000 below home report, and then we got somebody. We never announced that though. We got somebody, and then we pushed it back to over 100,000 over the home report,
Yeah.
or over
Upgraded
that
that.
value in the first place. So it was immaterial. But imagine if we had gone on and said, "Oh, it's X amount below home report." I've seen it lately. One other is they've gone to an auction house, and the auction house immediately said it's £65,000 below home report. My God, you'll get tons of eyeballs on it, but you'll not
But
get the right buyers.
you'll also get a lot of questions raised about why as well.
You'll not get the right buyers for it. Put it that way. You'll not get the right type of buyer. That's what you're after. The
I think
buyer has to
another
pay the right price for it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Just before you obviously move on, you were talking about. You said somebody gave you the feedback about it's great that your own guys do the viewings and things as well. I think that is really important because when agents have got just these people that open doors and do viewings, you're not going to be able to transfer like the people that are doing the negotiating don't have that knowledge of the actual on-site feedback and the emotion that
Yeah.
in the person, and that's all part of that being able to negotiate properly as well, because you know, like this person really loved this, they were saying this, they were, do you know, blah blah, or, and
I
you don't
agree.
have that connection. You don't have that connection and that follow through.
So my advice then for that about partnering with the right estate agent is to choose well. You need to test every agent for accurate advice, a robust strategy as well, and probably concrete standards. In other words, where do they sit? You know, is this things that they, you know, by I mean standards. It's like what sort of standards do they have, or do they just fall for anything? You know, they're just quite happy just to suck it and see. You know,
Yeah,
that's not a great strategy
through.
to have. That tends to be the hybrid online. Do
Mhm.
that the suck it and see thing. It's like, oh, let's see how we get on. It's like,
Yeah,
really? It's like, no. You should have a strategy mapped out from the very beginning about where you're going and how you're doing it. Anyway, we've talked about this so much and we've overrun a wee bit. So let's
yeah,
just finish this off. One thing, Richard, for people that plan to sell in January, what they should be doing right now. One thing that you think
yeah.
it would be the best thing to advise them.
They need to not wait to January. They need to do it now, I think, to get on the market, and all these things that we've spoken about today are collectively what you need to get in place and get done so that your property is ready, prepared for the market now, as opposed to obviously
Yeah.
wanting to sell in January, putting it on in January. You need to do it now.
Well, wait until January. We're selling it in February, won't you?
You'll be, yeah.
That's effectively it. So this is your golden opportunity to get it done now, before we get into the Christmas period and the New Year period, and just get all these wee things done now. Get a wee bit of plan together about what you want to do. I know everybody's leads busy lives, but something is better than nothing. And if you need any help, please feel free, reach out, stick us a message in on these posts, send us an email at info@fifeproperties.co.uk, or call in the offices, or you know how to get us. You know, you're going to get us somewhere. We're always there somewhere in the social media sphere. So if you put a message in, we're going to get it pretty much straight away,
That'll
even in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Richard. Really appreciate your feedback and your advice. And until next time, guys, it's bye-bye from us. Bye-bye.